Good morning, class. It's Mrs. Kane, and I'm here with your next e-learning video. Last week I taught you how to simplify, multiply, and divide rationals, and today we're going to start talking about adding and subtracting. So, before we talk about adding and subtracting rational expressions, we're going to start by just reviewing a multiply and divide problem. So when you're asked to multiply rational expressions, you keep the order the same. All you have to do is factor any numerators or denominators that are factorable, and then you're going to cross out common factors that appear in the top and the bottom. So in this first problem, we can factor the 2x plus 10 by taking out the GCF, and we can factor this x squared plus 7x plus 10. Okay, so that's what we're going to start with. So we're going to keep the x minus 2. We're going to factor 2x plus 10 by taking a 2 out. We're left with x plus 5. And then we need to think of two numbers that multiply to 10 and add to 7. So if we use 2 and 5, the factors are going to be x plus 2 and x plus 5. Whoops, I meant to move that over. You can also use an area model for that. And then we can also, I just noticed, we can also factor this denominator here. This is a GCF, so this has a GCF of 2, and we're left with x minus 2. Okay, so factor everything that is factorable, and then if you have a factor that appears in the numerator and the denominator, you can cross it out. So we cross out the x minus 2's, and we cross out the x plus 5's, and on the top, all we're left with is x plus 2, and then on the bottom, we're left with a 2 times 2, which is 4. And so the answer is x plus 2 over 4. Okay, let's try another one. So in this next problem, this is a division problem. So when you divide, you keep the first expression the same. You're going to change the division problem to multiplication, and then you're going to flip the second problem, or the second expression. Okay, so while I do that, I'm going to factor. I notice I can factor this and I can factor this. Okay, so to factor the top here, we need two numbers that multiply to give us 4 and add to give us 4. So we can use 2 and 2. So I'm going to write x plus 2 times x plus 2 over x minus 2. Now I'm going to change the division to multiplication, and I'm going to flip the second one. I'm going to put this x plus 2 on the bottom. And then x squared minus 4. Remember, that's a difference of squares, so that's going to factor into x plus 2 times x minus 2. Okay, so I factored and flipped in one step there. All right, so now we have an x plus 2 on the bottom, an x plus 2 on the top. We have an x minus 2 on the bottom. We have an x minus 2 on the top. Now we're left with x plus 2 times x plus 2 on the top. You cannot cross those out because they're both in the numerator. And so your answer, you can either just write x plus 2, or you could write x plus 2 quantity squared. Okay, so when you multiply, everything stays in the same order. You just have to factor, factor, cancel. And when you divide, the first step, you keep, change, flip, and then you turn it into a multiplication problem. Okay, so today I'm going to start talking about adding and subtracting. So we're going to start with fractions, and then we'll move on to rational expressions. So when you add and subtract, you have to have like denominators. So the bottom number of the fractions have to be the same. So today's lesson, we're going to focus on all problems that have the same denominator. And then we'll move on to unlike denominators in the next lesson. Okay, so when you have the same denominator, all you do, you keep the denominator the same. So 2 14ths plus 5 14ths. We have the same denominator, 14. And so all you do is add the numerators. Okay, and so we get 7 over 14. And that reduces to 1/2. Okay, the next one, 8 ninths plus 4 ninths. So keep the denominator the same and add the numerators. 8 plus 4 is 12. Okay, notice these are both divisible by 3. And so we can reduce this. We get 4/3. Okay, now when we subtract, same thing, we need to have the same denominator, so 9 tenths minus 3 tenths. Keep the denominator the same, subtract the numerators. 9 minus 3 is 6, and then we can reduce. Divide by 2, and our answer is 3/5. Okay, and then the last one, we have that same denominator of 18. Subtract the numerators. 3 minus 15 is negative 12. Okay, these are both divisible by 3 or 6. So I'm going to use the greatest common factor, which is 6, and we get negative 2/3. Okay, so that's also a good kind of ALEKS skills review for you. All right, so it says use the problems above to explain how to add or subtract fractions with the same denominator. So the key when you have the same denominator is you keep the denominator, and then you're going to combine the numerators by adding or subtracting. So add or subtract the numerators. Okay, and you can I always like to think of a pizza when I talk about fractions. If a pizza has 12 pieces and I eat 2 of them and my husband eats 4 of them, how much pizza did we eat? Well, 2 12ths plus 4 12ths would be 6 12ths. So the bottom number stays the same. The number of pieces that we started with does not change. All right, so we're going to take our explanation and we're going to apply it to rational expressions. Now we have variables, okay? What you're going to notice in today's problems is all of them have the same denominator. So all we have to do is combine numerators. So let's start with some addition problems. Okay, so for this first problem, we already have the same denominator, so we just have to add numerators, okay? So we have a plus sign here. And so we're going to keep the denominator, x plus 3. And to add these numerators, what are we adding? We're adding 3x minus 4 to 2x plus 5. Okay, so 3x plus 2x is 5x. And then negative 4 plus 5 is positive 1. And that's it. So you're really just combining like terms on the top. Okay, so the next problem, we're adding again. This time we're going to add x squared plus 4x plus 20 and 2x minus 4. Okay, so we keep the denominator the same. Denominator is x plus 6. And now x squared does not have a like term to go with, so we're going to start our answer with x squared. But then we have 4x plus 2x, which is 6x. And then we have 20 plus negative 4, which is 16. And I'm doing this work in the morning, and my daughter just woke up, so I'm in the middle of a video. You want to come say hi? Say hi.
Hi.
Say thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Okay, we're almost done. Okay, so the next problem we're going to practice subtracting. Now subtracting is a little trickier because you have to distribute the minus sign. Okay, so in this next set of problems, we still have the same, we already have like denominators. Okay, so in this problem, our denominator is going to stay x squared plus 2. Okay, but when you subtract, you have to subtract the 4x and you have to subtract the 4. Okay, so you really have 2x minus 4x, which is negative 2x. And then you have negative 1 minus 4, which is negative 5. So on the top, you get negative 2x minus 5. Okay. All right, so the next one, we're going to keep our denominator, x minus 1, and then we've got to take this minus sign and we've got to subtract the entire numerator. So we have 3x squared minus x squared, okay, which is 2x squared. That's going to start our answer. And then we've got 4x minus 3x, which is 1x. And then we've got 20 minus 5, which is 15. Okay, and so once you combine those numerators, you're done. All right, and then let's try one more. So this one, we're going to start our denominator with x plus 4. And then we have x squared minus, there's nothing for that to go with, so we start our numerator with x squared. All right, so then we got to distribute this minus sign. So we've got negative 7x minus 2x. Okay, that's negative 9x. And then we've got 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Okay, and so your answer is x squared minus 9x minus 3. All right, so I want you to go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to try the last 3 problems, okay, and then kind of fast forward to the end to check your work. Okay, so for this one, 6x plus 3x is 9x, 5 plus negative 1 is plus 4. Okay, this one we're subtracting, so make sure you distribute that minus sign. Your denominator is x plus 7. 5x squared minus 3x squared is 2x squared. 4x minus 3x is x. 8 minus negative 2 Notice when you subtract a negative, it becomes positive. Okay, and then the last one, you're going to distribute this minus sign. X squared has nothing to go with, so we have 12x minus 5x is 7x. And 6 minus negative 4, remember 6 minus negative 4 becomes 6 plus 4, which is 10. Okay, so today I want you to complete the worksheet that is in the daily assignments folder and submit that via Schoology. There's a little bit of everything on that worksheet, so just kind of a